Alright. So, nagbabalik tayo sa ating violin tips and tricks. And for today's video, I want to do a video about bows. How to find the best bow for you. And I think kasi may nag-comment on the video on the differences of the sizes of the violins. I think for the bows, not much should change kasi the sizes of the bows are fairly the same. Siguro we can focus on bow quality, and what to expect at different bow price points. So I have here 3 bows, 3 of these bows that I actually use on a daily basis. One is for my practice, one is for my teaching, and one is just a spare bow that I interchange from time to time. So when it comes to bows kasi, a lot of people don't give it as much emphasis as, buying their violins. Kasi usually when you buy a cheap instrument, may kasama siyang bow. And people tend to think na okay na yun, And at the most part, it's okay na nga talaga, It's fine to use the free bows that you get from your instruments, but if you continue to upgrade, minsan wala na nga talagang kasamang bow yung violin. So you have to buy your own set of bows that would help you in order for you to play even better, Because as we all know, almost 80 to 90% of everything that you do on your instrument is not on the violin itself. The violin is there to project the sound, to give you the right intonation, but the sound that you will produce will mainly be made by your bow. So it's important that you actually try to get a bow that you're comfortable with using, Hindi basta yung kasama na lang, okay na yun, Of course, if you're starting out, for beginners, that's fine. But if you're getting better instruments, kung gumaganda yung violin mo, dapat sumasabay din yung bow, As much as possible. Alright, so I have here, these 3 bows are actually of 3 different price points, And the thing about it is, the quality changes as you go higher, So I think this is the cheapest one, the black one, which is a carbon fiber bow that I got off Lazada, I think I did a review. I'll post the link somewhere. Maybe I put it here on this exact bow, So it's a carbon fiber bow, and as you expect from carbon fiber bows, usually hindi ganun kaganda yung response, compared to wooden bows, For me, personally, this is my personal take on it, on what I have tried before, So I've tried a lot of bows na rin, but a carbon fiber wouldn't suffice what I really want, but it's useful enough that I get the sound that I need, plus it's lightweight. So if you want to consider buying a carbon fiber bow, think about it as a bow that is literally indestructible, mahirap na rin siyang baliin, It's a good investment if you're coming from a cheap bow na kasama lang sa violin mo for free, for example. You could have one, And this one came in black. The black horsehair. Ayan. So, the quality of the hair as well changes, I think when black horsehair is used, usually you see this on bass bows, or on cello bows, na para mas common siya. Sa violin, hindi masyado. But this one came in black. And usually, if you get black horsehair, it's much more rough, So, ramdam mo talaga when you start to play with it, na mas magaspang yung tunog, mas scratchy siya, but at the same time, the sound projects dahil doon sa sa hair na yan, dahil black yung hair niya, mas makapit siya. But of course, the quality of sound will differ from another bow, So this one is a lightweight bow, and yun nga, it gets its sound from the bow hair. Parang doon siya kumukuha ng kapit. So you have to also check kung maganda ba yung hair na nakalagay, kung okay ba siya. But for me, for its price of around 1,500, pwede na siya pang araw-araw, panturo ko nga siya. So, it's easy to move around because it's relatively lightweight nga. And yeah, it doesn't change much, Usually, if you're in an air-conditioned room, mapapansin mo yun when it comes to bows, that your bows tend to tighten or loosen depending on the climate or depending on the weather. But this one doesn't really change that much, kahit nasa aircon, kahit sa mainit. And that's a good thing, If you really want to use a bow that is not affected by the elements. As we all know, I did a video on that as well, di ba? How the elements can affect your instrument, pati na rin yung bow kasama dun. Of course, the hair will always be affected kasi yung humidity and the rosin and that stuff. But the tension that it creates, mas stable siya when it comes to these types of bows. So I have this one. This one's a quite cheaper than the other bow, pero wooden bow din siya. But the thing about this and the other one is that this one's more heavy. Okay, more heavy doesn't always mean that it's gonna produce a bigger sound, okay? So, bow weight is not particularly proportionate to whatever sound you can produce, no? I find that this bow, kahit mabigat siya, produces a rounder sound, no? Kasi if you think about it, gusto natin yung bow pressure. Pag mataas yung bow pressure, dapat magiging scratchy. But this one, it produces a rounder sound, no? Maybe because of the wood, how it responds. Maybe because of the hair. Not really sure. Pero yung tunog nga nung bow na to is rounder. Medyo mas warm sound compared to my other wood bow, which is this one, the main bow that I use right now, which is lighter than this one. Okay? So, I think this one's around 25,000 pesos. This one's around 8 to 10,000 pesos. So, a huge, not really that big of a price difference, but it has something to contribute dun sa tunog niya talaga, no? So, if you have a bow that's heavy, you should always try it out, no? Heavy can be good or bad, depending on how you look at it, no? Could be bad if you don't need that much weight or that much pressure. Hindi mo naman siya kailangan talaga na mabigat, so you might not want it kasi mas mahirap siya pagalawin, no? If the bow is heavy. And another thing is if you want to do chords, no? Minsan mas mahirap mag-chords pag mas mabigat yung bow kasi tumatama dun sa iba, hindi mo agad siya nakokontrol. So it comes down to control. Of course, for me, I'm a big person, no? Malaki din naman yung mataba yung kamay ko. So para sa akin, even though it's heavy, it's not that bad for me. No, I have friends who tried this bow out na sabi nila masyadong mabigat for their preference, yeah. But it's really more of your preference naman talaga, yung personal preference mo eh. But a bigger or larger, heavier bow doesn't always mean that it would produce a heavier sound. It will depend on your control, no? So, sometimes mahirap kasi mabigat kasi nga mahirap siya iangat, no? Because sometimes you really need to take it off the string to produce the sound that you want. No? But for me, mas relax ako gumamit ng heavy bow because I can really distribute the weight evenly. Mas madali ko siya nagagawa. So it's more technique based rather than, you know, just the bow itself. But of course, it really affects the sound, no? Kung paano siya lumalabas. I think dahil mabigat siya, mas nakokontrol ko yung speed, mas nakokontrol ko yung pag-move ng strings underneath the bow. So for me, this one is something that I would use if I'm playing, you know, slow pieces or kaya mga baroque pieces that I need more control of the sound, yung ayaw mo siyang pasigawin, no? For me, no? So that's my use case for this. If I want to mellow out the sound of my instrument, I try to use this bow. Yeah. So yun nga, bow hair is white. So usually, pag white yung bow hair, they say it's the best type of bow hair for violins, no? But yeah, it's much smoother sounding than the black one, no? Compared to this one, it's much more smooth. Yun nga lang, talaga, ang reklamo ng karamihan dito sa bow na to is it's quite heavy, no? Not heavy in a sense na it's top heavy or bottom heavy, no? Na wala yung center of gravity niya. So, it's still good. The center of gravity is still good for this bow, for me, no? And I can really control this, pero yun nga, it takes more effort, no? Because it's heavy, yeah. And then my last one, my main bow, this one's an Eastman bow. I think I got this 2-3 years ago, I'm not sure. Yeah. So this one is quite light, parang siya yung middle when it comes to weight. This one's in the middle, no? So this one produces a more clear sound, no? I think it's because of the wood and of course dahil mas manipis ata yung wood that they use for this, but it's more dense than the cheaper ones. I think that's the explanation for that the response is better. And then of course white horsehair again. So for me, this is the perfect bow to use for if I want to really bring out the clarity of the pieces that I want to play. No, napapalabas ko, very neutral yung sound that I can get from this. No, I can make it warm, I can make it bright. It depends on the technique that I use. And of course, it doesn't affect my playing as much as the heavier bow. No? So, it's easy to maneuver, it's easy to control, madali siya patalbugin, you can do spiccatos easy with this bow, for me, no? And, yun nga, it's very, very balanced, very clear yung sound niya. So, this one's my favorite out of the three. And then, I guess this one, no? The one I use for my students, I also use this for my covers sometimes. And then, this one's going to be the last, no? Sabi nga ng ibang mga violinists, in your case, you should have two bows. One that you use all the time and one that you don't use at all. Parang ganun. One that you love and one that you hate. Yeah. So, if I would suggest for you to buy bows, at least try it out. Kasi kahit na sabihin natin for me, magaan siya, baka sa'yo mabigat. Maybe if I tell you that it's clear, the sound that I produce for it is clear, baka sa'yo hindi masyado. So, it will depend on the person using it. Of course, your technique will depend on that. Plus, how you really control your bow. People control their bows differently. We have a ton of bow techniques that could literally affect how you play, you know? Even the bow tension, even the bow hair, and the rosin that you use. So, there are many things to consider when buying a bow, no? So, as you can see, in 3 different price points, you have 3 different sounds, but it doesn't mean na laging ganon. You might get a 20,000 peso bow that would sound warm, no? So you could get a 5,000 peso bow that sounds clear for you, no? So it's best if you can try it out, especially if you're bow hunting, no? If you're not just looking for instruments, you're also looking for bows, mas maganda matesting nyo talaga. Kasi even if you get sound samples, pag gamit mo na siya, it will differ. Kasi your technique might be different from the one giving you the sound samples, no? It's the same thing with your instruments. You have to try it out, no? So it's not a matter of how long the bow is. It's more of how it's made, the wood that's used, the hair that's used, even the frog, no? How you adjust the tension of the hairs, nakaka-apekto din yun. And if you're trying to find a good bow for you, yeah, try it out. Price doesn't mean that much, no? Hindi ganun kalaki yung difference ng price to the way it sounds, but you have to check whether it's a good buy for you. Kasi nga, hindi talaga pare-parehas yan. And if this video helped you out, drop a like, comment down below more content you'd like to see, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. By the way, my course on Udemy is still available. Check out my music on Spotify and all major music platforms. My blog is also out, and of course, listen to the podcast on all major podcast platforms. This has been Ryan Monakil for Violin Tips and Tricks, and I'll see you on the next video.